Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Maple syrup is a key piece of our agricultural economy, as well as an important part of our working landscape. Sugar makers are proud of the quality products they produce and the care they take of the natural environment. Today we begin with a story of one Vermont sugar maker who still does things the old-fashioned way. Here's Across the Fence's Keith Silva.
Charles Paddy, call him Bill, everyone else does, follows a simple philosophy to make maple syrup.
Work hard, keep it clean, and enjoy it.
Maybe Bill missed his calling as a poet. Ask him about his business, and it turns out he's as wise as he is humble.
Well, it's just a family sugaring operation. We tap 2,000 buckets, gather with Kubotas instead of horses. Other than that, it's kind of like Grandpa did, right?
Paddy has spent his life farming and sugaring, but it wasn't until he built this sugar house that he and his family decided to go into the maple business for themselves.
We built this sugar house in 2001. Prior to that, I sugared pretty much boiled for someone or boiled ourselves way back as a kid with my grandfather and father, and pretty much something we've done forever. We didn't have a tractor when I was a kid on the farm, so we did everything with horses. So.
Do you miss those days?
Don't miss the horses. I like horses though because they buy hay.
Paddy's lack of nostalgia for the old days of sugaring stops at horses. The family still gathers sap in buckets instead of using a more modern pipeline system. Lucky for the Paddys, they've got a willing and eager workforce made up of their grandsons Dylan, Colby, and Brendan, and a neighbor, Tyler.
With us at our size, it's fun to gather. The family gathers. It's a good time out there until the days that you have to gather just with two, and then it's not as much fun. The young boys get all excited about it. They can't wait to get started. Of course, they can't wait to finish when we get towards the end either, but...
What about the older boy?
Me? I'm getting older, yeah. No, it's fun. We still like it. As long as everybody sticks together, we'll keep doing it, so.
The boys have built homemade rigs out in back of the sugar house. They've got a competition going to see who can make the most syrup the old-fashioned way, using a kettle over an open flame. While things heat up outside, inside, the sap bubbles away in the pans. Like the buckets, there's not much modernization in this sugar house. Wood, not propane, fires the evaporator, and there are no efficiency-increasing devices like a reverse osmosis system or a preheater pan that are commonplace in most maple operations nowadays. This is how the Paddy sugar. It works for them.
When we bought the new sugar rig, my son and I wanted to put a preheater pan in the back, and the wife said no. If we're going to sugar, we're going to have steam in the sugar house. So that's how it stayed, and that's how we've been ever since. And we've made some good syrup with it, so we're just sticking with it. It's a big expense. The RO's a lot of money, and you got to have the building to store the RO in to keep it heated. And like I said, it's just a family project that we enjoy doing it and doing it this way. No need to spend that extra money to have fun.
Well done. Looking good.
A sugar maker is both scientist and artist. Technology boosts efficiency and increases profits, but the process of making maple syrup is only the means to an end. The product is what matters most. Mark Isselhard works as a maple specialist for University of Vermont Extension.
The small operations, ones that might use buckets, are really important to the image, the marketing of maple, because a lot of times the story of maple is told with this older technique of collection. It's not so much the process as it is the product that's critical. Making sure high quality product across the board is what's important.
Like I said, it started out good early, February.
Yeah.
And then after that,
Garth
snowstorm, it's been
Atherton
quite
has known
slow.
Bill for years.
Yeah.
He's a sugar maker too, and has worked as a maple equipment salesman.
Right.
It was Garth who emailed across the fence to tell us about his friend and the award-winning syrup he and his family produce.
I've been to over 30 international and North American maple syrup council meetings, and my knowledge, I've never seen one person win more than one award. The first one he won, I think, is probably a delicate. It's probably a light syrup, which is very delicate. It had more maple flavor than maybe you would if it went through more advanced stages of today, because the longer you boil or enhance that syrup, the more the maple flavor comes out. You know what I mean? So that's what impressed me with it. You know, it's a family operation, and I think they do a super job. It ties the family together, and they have a wonderful job doing it. And I really enjoy coming up and meeting with them every year. You know,
The Patties had placed first twice and were awarded Best in Show in 2010 by the North American Maple Syrup Council, an international organization made up of 16 states and Canada. Bill's proud of the awards he and his family have won. It probably won't come as a surprise that accolades and prizes aren't why he's a sugar maker.
What do you like about this time of year?
Summer's coming. No, it's a lot of fun. It's the last thing you do before, the winter's over, and it's just fun to be out there doing it, making some good syrup. We had the land, we had the maple trees, so we just wanted to do it for the kids.
It's like Bill says, work hard, keep it clean, and enjoy. It's how the Patty family makes maple and lives life. In Enosburg Falls, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Definitely time for Vermont maple. While sugar makers work the landscape, our next segment focuses on people who can read the landscape. Here's Rebecca Gollin.
So I've got a different theory about why there aren't any tracks right there.
It's like going for a walk in the woods with Sherlock Holmes, but about nature.
Noah Hoffman is a middle school science teacher in Bristol. He's talking about a new opportunity that he's participating in. It's the Vermont Master Naturalist South Burlington program.
Cast your eyes this way. And what we're hoping to do is really expose the Master Naturalist candidates to the tools that they need to better understand their landscape, and maybe apply that towards conservation or towards connecting other people in their town or in their city to their local landscape.
On this day, program coordinator Sophie Mazawita is leading a walk through Wheeler Park in South Burlington. She's teaching participants about the wildlife tracks they're finding along the way. And they are finding plenty, even though they're only a couple of miles from the heart of Vermont's largest city.
Even though there is a lot of human development, there's this tapestry of habitats that's interwoven between everything in South Burlington. And when we're out tracking and we're seeing fisher tracks and gray fox and red fox tracks within Burlington and South Burlington, you come to realize that we do have this pretty distinct special habitat here.
You might see little brown M&Ms, but I caution you not to taste any of them.
The purpose of the program is to educate the public about the landscape, wildlife, and natural history of the area through a series of field trips. Participants also engage in a community service project. South Burlington is one of 6 towns currently involved.
So our very first day, we actually got into kayaks at the beach at Red Rocks Park, took to the shoreline, and we were looking at all of the layers of rock in the Moncton Quartzite that spring up along the cliff edges there. And so just getting this different perspective and really diving into the story of why are those rocks there in particular, and what are the processes that cause that, and what does that mean?
Through the field trips, participants are led through the natural history of the area, taking into consideration what program leaders call the layer cake.
We like to go through what we call the layer cake, so starting with an understanding of the bedrock geology and then the glacial processes or surficial geology on top of that have created the landscapes, the physical landscape that we see. But of course, every landscape is connected, or each layer is connected to the others, and so that understanding of the bedrock geology can tell us something about the soils. When an animal is walking, it's just moving that 1 foot at a time, and so the trail's going to be fairly wide and it's going to be pretty stable.
I had a pretty strong background in geology and historical geology, but nothing that pertained to this region.
Dottie Rosenzweig moved to South Burlington from Brooklyn, New York in 2018. She had studied geology in that area and was drawn to the Master Naturalist program by the prospect of learning more about her new home.
When you know how the land got here, what it was before and how it got here, you have a sense of where it's going to go. You know, wind and water erosion are going to do their thing. It's not going to stay the way it is.
Like Rosenzweig, many of the participants have interest or experience that led them to the program, from geology or birding to wildlife tracking. The range of topics covered means that there's something for everyone to learn, even if they're already an expert in another aspect of natural history.
You know, I like trees, but I didn't know what grows, what needs water, what doesn't want water, and I know that now. I'm learning that, and it gives you an appreciation of what it is that you're looking at and what creatures live where and why they live there and what do they eat and how do they find it.
Some fairly old sapsucker activity here. We are in an old sugar bush, and there is another sap feeder in our midst.
These experiences have really gotten me to slow down and look more closely at things like tracks and rocky outcrops.
For Hoffman, the program is providing the opportunity to learn new information to share with his students. It's also making him examine his own surroundings with a new curiosity.
Thinking more deeply about the story of the landscape and, you know, and asking different kinds of questions than I was asking before about, you know, what this might be telling me when I see that old fence or that old rock wall or track in the mud or something like that.
For these participants, it's about looking at the small details in order to get the big picture of a place.
The tracking and just like coming out and paying attention, I think there's just, you know, such wonder and presence that can come from paying attention and deeper knowledge and understanding, and it's just amazing how much we're missing much of the time.
Teaching Vermonters how to see new details in the world around them. The Master Naturalist program is helping people connect the dots. In South Burlington, I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
Thank you, Rebecca. And once again, thank you for joining us Across the Fence. I'm Fran Stoddard.